So in this video I'm going to look at this vehicle, a Renault Zoe ZE50, but it's not a normal Zoe. This one is the van version. This is a 2021 model and I only picked it up yesterday, and it's the first one of these I've had in, so I thought I'd make this video and explain what they are and crucially show you the cargo capacity you have in the back. These are the only small electric vans you can get, and they've also got the longest range of any electric van because this has the 52 kilowatt hour battery pack, just like the normal Renault hatchback, and these are good for about 250 mile range. So while there's vans with larger batteries, they're also bigger vans and less efficient than this. So if you're looking for a small electric van where you're primarily only driving yourself around and don't need too much cargo capacity, these are a good option. And being a commercial vehicle, of course, if you're VAT registered, you can claim the VAT back. And because these are based on the Renault Zoe hatchback, at the front here, it's all standard. There we go, there's the welcome noise. It's all standard Renault Zoe stuff. So for a van, these are very well kitted out and very comfortable. So let's just get the range question out of the way first, because that seems to be the first question when anyone's looking at an electric vehicle. So the official WLTP range on this is 245 miles. That's a combined cycle. I've just driven this morning for 52 miles and I averaged 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour. So that works out at a range of 250 miles driving in the summer. And that was with a bit of high-speed driving as well. Again, that was a bit of a mix of driving. So realistically, if you drive it reasonably, you can get 250 miles out of this. But if you were driving in an urban environment where your top speed is much lower, then you're going to probably average more like 5 to 5.5 miles per kilowatt hour. You can even get 6 out of these if you're really driving it efficiently. So the range is going to be greater than 250 miles. So what Renault say in their brochures is a winter range of 150 and a summer range of 233, but they're being quite pessimistic really. I think realistically, again, it depends how you drive, as always, just like a combustion engine vehicle. But I think actually you're probably going to be looking at more like 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour in the winter, which means 198 miles. Even at worst, 3.5 kilowatt hours would give you a range of 182. But these have got a heat pump, so they're very efficient. So I think realistically 200 miles in the winter and up to about 250, 260 miles in the summer. So next, let's quickly talk about charging on these. And you open the charge port with that button there, and then the charge port is at the front. And there are two types of charging systems on these vehicles. This particular one is the rapid charge model. So you've got AC charging at the top there via a standard Type 2 charging port, and all of them have 22 kilowatt AC charging. But this one is the rapid charge, so this has got the additional connector at the bottom for your DC charging, which allows you to charge on public DC rapid chargers. So if you're buying a Renault Zoe electric van and you intend to do long distance driving more than the range of the vehicle per day, then you definitely want to buy one that's got rapid charging. But the standard models just have AC charging only, but because this is a 22 kilowatt charger, if you're charging back at base at commercial premises and you've got 3-phase, then yeah, great, you can charge at 22 kilowatt, which is a very reasonable speed. But if you're charging at home, then it's single phase and it's going to be 7.4 kilowatt. But many public chargers also at 3-phase as well. So as standard, they've got pretty fast charging, but if you want to use public rapid chargers, then you do want to buy the model that's got the rapid charging there. So this is a van after all, so let's have a look at the important end, the cargo space. So obviously this is the same body shell as the 5-door hatchback, and it still retains 5 doors, but the glass has been blackened out there as well, so you can't see in. So it's great if you want to store tools in the back. As you can see, very black there, and we've got no back seats. So instead there is this cargo area with a mesh bulkhead up there and a false floor here, which has got sort of hard plastic on the floor there, and it still retains the parcel shelf and a cover there, so you've got two layers in effect. So great if you want to store tools or equipment in the bottom half and keep it out of view, because when the back is down you're just going to be looking down onto a parcel shelf, and obviously you can't see into those side windows, so whatever you've got underneath is completely hidden out of sight. So at the back here you've got this very solid steel bulkhead here, mesh, so you can see through, but that's protecting the front passengers from any moving loads at the back here. There is also space here behind the driver's seat. I've got that seat in my position and I'm 5'10", I think. There's enough room here to put the charge cable, and while we're looking at this, this is a type 2 to type 2, and it is a 3-phase charging cable, so slightly thicker cable there, but it allows you to charge at that 22 kilowatt if your charger supports it. And then, as you can see, there's a bit of space there behind the seat there if you want to put stuff on the floor there, but this is all fixed. And then you've got this framework here covered in carpet material and this divider. So this obviously lifts out. Let's whip the parcel shelf out and lift that out, because for most people I suspect you're going to want to take this parcel shelf out, because this does sort of restrict the loading height. So with the parcel shelf out but leaving that shelf in, it actually makes a huge difference. There's quite a bit of depth there up to that anyway, but obviously this can come out as well, but I need two hands for that. So with both out, it really is now looking like a van. The area is pretty impressive. The access through the side doors isn't great because you do have these two metal bars in the way which is supporting that shelf, but by the looks of it you could remove these. That's just clamping onto the hooks there, the metal hooks which were the backrest supports on the hatchback version, and there's two bolts there, so I guess that could be removed if you wanted permanently to remove the covers and have access to the side. You would still have this in the way, which isn't ideal. At the end of the day, I don't think it's designed to be used from the sides. It's primarily you're loading from the back. I would just say though, the bumper is painted and doesn't have a cover, so that's something that you would probably want to do if you were to own one of these, is just to buy a self-adhesive cover to go over the top of the bumper to protect that paintwork. But yeah, it's a decent size area in the back here. So Renault say this is 1 cubic metre, and I've got the dimensions here. So it is saying it's 1.22 metres load length, and then we've got a height of 770 and a rear aperture width of 960, and then in the middle here we've got 1.38 metres door to door, and 1.037 metres across the width there. So a very usable space, but what I'm going to do is check it here with the tape measure. So on the floor to the catch you are looking at 1.26 metres, 126 centimetres, but as always bulkheads are never flat, so if you're taking it from there to here you're looking at 1.15 metres, so 115 centimetres, but obviously the higher you go the less it's going to be, so you're looking at a metre to 1.1 metres in reality. And then the load height is 75 centimetres, that's the aperture through the hatchback here, and then the width here is 95 centimetres. So this flooring is a plastic sheet there on top of the carpet, and then this is a false floor because underneath here you've got your puncture repair kit, and then you've got these sort of plastic supports here to support that false floor, and then there's a couple of metal brackets there because you can fix that false floor down using these plastic twist locks. You've got a couple of lashing points at the front there, tie down hooks, and then you've got a couple at the back here that just protrude above the false floor, and these are bolted into the steel here. And then you can see up there that the mesh bulkhead is fixed to the roof. That's where the grab handles would have been on the hatchback version. Then you can also see here's a hole here where the seat belt would have been on the hatchback as well. But overall it looks a lot bigger than a cubic metre. It's a very usable space, quite a flat entry apart from this raised profile here on the metalwork where the hatchbacks locks down. All that it's missing really is that bit of protection on the bumper because these are body coloured, and that would be worth adding just so it doesn't get too scratched up and deteriorate the second-hand value when it gets used a bit. The plastics do tend to show the marks, as you can see here, so a few marks on it, which it does on the Zoe hatchback. Obviously it's all the same. The plastics they use aren't particularly robust, and then you do have carpet sections here which could get a bit tatty. But at the end of the day it's based on a hatchback, so the modifications are limited, but they made a really good job of it. And that bulkhead is very safe and secure, so ideal for putting big loads in and all being pretty safe. One thing just to add, there's no switches to lower these rear windows, so these are then fixed. It is still glass, yeah, it's still glass, but it's got this film, blackout film on the inside, and as you can see there's a blank plate where what handle would have been on the lower spec ones, and there's no electric switches there or on the driver's side to lower this glass. So the final question would be the payload. How much weight can you put in the back of this? Well, it's 457 grams. That's if it's the business model, as this one is. If it's the business plus, where it's got a few more bits of kit on it, the van is obviously a little bit heavier, so the payload reduces to 435 kilos. So the overall curb weight of this vehicle is only 1,531 kilos, which isn't very heavy at all. In terms of modern vehicles, all modern vehicles have got heavier because of the amount of kit, and obviously they're safer and stronger. But compared to a combustion engine vehicle, I would say this is quite light actually. It's one of those myths that electric vehicles are all heavy. They're not. Of course, you've got no engine, you've got no gearbox, you've got no fuel tank full of 70, 80, 90 kilograms of fuel. So yeah, 1,500 kilos total, 457 kilos payload. Just got to keep within that total mass of 1,988 kilograms. So I think that's enough about the back. I'll put those covers back on later. So let's have a look at the front. This vehicle still is a bit dirty. I only picked it up yesterday afternoon and haven't cleaned it yet, so don't look too hard at the grime and dirt. But anyway, this has only done 12,000 miles, 12,137 miles. So inside, they're just like the normal hatchback Zoe. So for a van, these have got quite a lot of kit and feel really nice up front, because vans tend to be rather basic. So these come in two trim levels, the Business and the Business Plus. This one is the Business, and the only real difference between the Business and the Business Plus is this has manual air conditioning, whereas the Plus has climate control. This has got steel wheels, whereas the Plus has alloys, but you probably don't want alloys on your van unless it's your own van. This has 2 speakers. The Plus has an additional 4 speakers. The Plus model has rear parking sensors on the back, and it's also got lane keep and blind spot detection, and it also gets different fabric on the seats. But there isn't really too much difference. Oh, the other thing is the Plus has navigation within the head unit here, whereas the standard business model, it relies on your phone mirroring Apple CarPlay or Android Auto to give you navigation. That's no big anyway, because they work far better than built-in sat-navs. But even the standard version has Bluetooth and DAB radio and all that sort of stuff anyway. So I'm just going to plug in my phone here to get Android Auto up and running. And we can see it's just loading now. So that's how you would use navigation on the standard unit. Plus all the additional benefits of hands-free WhatsApp, texting, podcast and whatever apps you've got on your phone that you can use within Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. You've got cruise control, speed limiter, telephone. Your audio controls are on a stalk, typical Renault. They hide it on a stalk at the back there, which is always out of view because of the stalk on the steering wheel. Automatic lights, automatic wipers as well. Manual air conditioning on this one. So you can adjust where let's just put the fan on there, so you can adjust where the airflow is on that dial there. This one is just a fan, and then this one is your temperature. So yeah, all the switch gear is very nice actually. It's got a nice feel. You've got an eco button there. Obviously when you're in eco it gets slightly less power. It also dulls down the heating or air conditioning system as well to preserve energy, just like it does in the hatchback version. And down here we've got electric handbrake, we've got auto hold as well, a couple of cup holders. You've got a storage pocket down there, storage there, which I was going to say that was wireless, but it's not. That's for putting your key fob, should I say. We've got 12 volt cigarette lighter, power adapter there, aux in, 2 USB ports there. A glove box, typical French. The fuse box is in there, so very little space, but a shelf there. But yeah, overall, for a van, it's a very nice place to be in. So I apologise for the background noise, but I need to have the air conditioning on in here because it's getting very, very hot. So next, I just want to talk about safety, because there's a lot said about the ZE50 Zoe and the latest Euro NCAP tests. So obviously the Zoe has been around for a long time. This has got the same body shell as the 22 and 41 kilowatt hour models, and this of course now is the new 52 kilowatt hour one. And the previous cars have always had top ratings with the Euro NCAP. They've had 5 stars. However, more recently when this was tested, it plummeted. It got a really bad rating, and that's because Renault basically took out the side airbags. I think did a bit of cost cutting. It could be because of COVID and parts restrictions and things, but anyway, at the same time they did that, the Euro NCAP testing got stricter because they're always changing. So a vehicle can be 5-star 1 year and the same vehicle can achieve a lower rating the following year because they change the goalpost. And that's what's happened here with the Zoe. It got absolutely slammed on the later cars, the testing as it were. However, we've got to look at this being a van, and generally vans don't have much safety kit at all. Even though vans are quite expensive, they really do strip the equipment out of them. So the majority of vans, they just have a driver's airbag and maybe a side airbag for the driver. If this was a Renault Kangoo, a standard, you just get a driver's airbag. You don't have any passenger airbags at all. That's an extra. However, on this vehicle, and this is a 2021 model, both the Business and the Business Plus have 4 airbags. You have an airbag for both the passenger and the drivers at the front and at the side. So 4 airbags in total, which is pretty good for a van. Majority of vans, you don't get that. You also get ISOFIX on the passenger seat as standard. So if I look down here at the difference between the Business and the Business Plus. The only real difference is on the Plus model you have lane departure warning and lane keep assist, automatic high beam dip, traffic sign recognition and overspeed protection. And then extras on that model are a rear camera, front and rear parking sensors and active emergency braking. They're all extras. But on both vans, as standard, you have 2 driver's airbags, 2 passenger airbags, hill start assist, ABS and emergency braking, stability control with anti-slip regulation and understeer control logic, front fog lights, automatic headlights and wipers, automatic activation of hazard lights on emergency braking. We've got Renault anti-intruder device and automatic door locking. That's basically a fancy word for an alarm. We've got ISOFIX on the passenger seat and tyre pressure monitoring and low speed pedestrian warning system. All as standard. Just like the normal Zoe, of course, the steering wheel does have a bit of adjustment that way and quite a lot that way. However, the seats are fixed and you sit quite high on these because effectively you're sitting on the battery pack. So very little adjustment in the seat, no height adjustment, it's just front and back and then the angle of the back. But once you get your correct position, they are very comfortable and you sort of sit in that SUV sort of Land Rover style. So you sit like a kitchen chair, as it were. So you sit rather upright, which actually makes it very comfortable over long distances. So in terms of the rest of the switchgear, you just got your windows here, mirrors, it's all pretty standard. And then here, that opens your charge port at the front, that adjusts your headlight angle if you've got a weight in the back, that adjusts the brightness of your dash, and then that will turn off that pedestrian warning system. And basically the way that works is it defaults to on every time, but if you sort of want to creep home late at night or something, you can turn that off. But this makes a tone out the front. Just let that car go past. This makes a tone out the front when you're driving below about 17 miles an hour, and then it turns off at that speed because by then the tyres are making enough noise that anyone can hear you. The display is very nice on this. This one needs a service, so we've got the spanner up and the warning indication, but you can change what you have on this side of the screen. You've got your media. This one is changing what you've got on this side of the screen, so that's actually a leaf at the moment. Then you can have a power flow, so you can see when you're taking power from the battery or when the motor's using the regeneration effect and putting power back into the battery. And then you've got your various trips here for your consumption, the journey, tyre pressures, and that's about it. So it's pretty basic, but you can customize all of this. There's various color modes and things. And then up here on the screen you've got your radio. Again, this is pretty basic. So we've got the smartphone integration, that's Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, radio, music streaming, telephone, car information and settings. Under car information we've only got the energy graph, and under system, no, what I was thinking I was going to was the settings there. So under settings, EV programming, this is where we can schedule the charging if you want to take advantage of cheap rate overnight electricity. You can schedule the climate, so that's your preconditioning, so you can make heating come on in the morning and melt any ice and get the vehicle ready for your drive while it's still connected to your charger. And then you've got the calendar here where you can see any of that scheduling you've set up. And car configuration, indicator noise, doors and locks, wipers, and all the welcome tones. So yeah, pretty simple, not an awful lot to it, but again, for a van, better than most. And as I said, you get a heat pump on these as standard. It's something the Zoe has always done, so your heating and air conditioning is much more efficient and you don't see that huge drop in the winter. And under the front you've got the same R110 motor as the hatchback, of course. These have a top speed of 84 miles an hour, not that that's relevant really, and 0 to 60 is 11.4 seconds, but as always with EVs you have all the torque from 0, so they feel so much more lively than that figure would suggest. You also have the LED headlights on these, so you've got daytime running lights which are LED, and as you can see there, Renault LED Pure Vision, so full LED headlights. And even though this is the business model, still got fog lights down here as well. So these are a really good looking hatchback. They've really improved the look and the interior quality on the ZE50, and you really wouldn't know this was the van, apart from, if you look really closely, this has got steel wheels with wheel covers rather than alloy wheels. And this is blackened out, but the hatchback has blackened out glass anyway, but not as dark as this. So the only way you tell this was the van is the word business, or business plus there on the back. So yeah, very smart looking vehicle. The only thing that's a bit odd is the length of that aerial on the back there. Just looks a little bit strange. It should have been a little shark fin. But anyway, maybe that means there's better DAB reception. One other thing I like is the key fob. Standard Renault stuff of course, but particularly useful when it's a van. So you've got this key fob which you can just keep in your pocket, and as soon as you walk away from the vehicle locks, and as soon as you walk back up to it, it unlocks. And that's particularly useful in a van if you're constantly coming back to the van to get tools or equipment out. It's just going to do all the locking and unlocking for you, and particularly handy if your hands are full up carrying stuff. And it's a really useful feature. So I think that's probably about it. I think I've covered everything, and this particular van will be up on the website in about a week's time or so. It just needs to have a service first, and obviously got to be cleaned and those seats cleaned. But this particular one, really nice condition, only done 12,000 miles as you can see, and pretty much immaculate. There's just one little chip down there which will have a bit of touch-up paint on it, and there's a bit of scuffing on the wheel trim on this side, but they're just plastic wheel trims. So yeah, full details of this will be on the website in due course, and a proper video coming up on the channel. But while this was here, I thought I'll do this introduction and explain what the Zoe van is, because there's just not much information out there on the van version. So I hope you found that useful. If you have, please do click the thumbs up button. Oh, here comes another tractor. It's harvest time today, so they've been going backwards and forwards all the time I'm recording this, taking grain back to the farm. But anyway, I'll leave that one in. So as always, please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video.